it's almost time to glue this fingerboard to the neck, and you can glue the fingerboard directly on top of the truss rod like this. I've done that in the past. I don't think I want to do that this time. What I'm going to do is route this channel just barely deeper, and I'm going to glue a filler strip on top of the truss rod and then glue the fingerboard on top of that. What I've done is mark the center line on the back of the neck. There's a center line marked, and then you can see here this line extends all the way to here, and there's a line here that is parallel to the line drawn onto the workbench, and then this edge has been ran on a joiner, so this edge is perfectly straight. So I've got the distance here set to the distance from the edge of my router to where the bit rides. So when I run here, it'll run parallel and straight up the center line of the neck. These hot rod truss rods have a tendency to rattle a little bit if you don't do something to stop that. My ideal solution for this is that I've found is hot glue. I've tried caulking. I've tried a few other things. Like I say, this bottom one here doesn't need to move, so I usually put a little bit of hot glue there. And I like to put a couple of beads between the two rods. That bit of material should be enough that we don't get extra rattle when this thing is installed. Just give it just a little bit of tightening, and I don't hear any rattle. For instance, if I loosen this so that the middle is sort of floating, hear that rattle? That'll vibrate with the strings. But when this has got tension on it, as it should be during setup, no buzz, no rattle. We have nothing left to do with this but wait. I think the last thing I'm going to do is just verify one more time that our rod turns. And it is not wanting to turn. It is giving me a little resistance, so maybe we have a little too much pressure here. Let's try this. There we go. I've had issues before mounting necks that I make onto a fender or fender copy body and having the intonation out just a little bit and having to either adjust the neck heel or the body pocket. So to avoid having to do that on this guitar, what I'm going to do is mount the neck where it goes, and measure from the saddle to 25.5 inches for the scale length. And that 25.5 inch mark is going to need to line up with the very front edge of the nut slot. And one other thing right here is I need to cut a pocket or a recess for this truss rod nut. Double-sided tape and some pieces of wood at the correct locations is all that I need to run against the router. And this should give us a nice clean pocket. I really quickly roughed that out on the bandsaw, and I've got got this adjusted where the router bit will ride my template here. Check out this scrap wood that I found on a pallet. I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet, but that is a lot of figure. Got 2 of these. So the same leveling beam that I used to radius the fingerboard, I'm using it to clamp the fingerboard on. This is a test fit only right now. There's no glue. What I'm looking for is the joint to make sure that I like the way that joint looks. And this is good to go on both sides. So I'm going to get some glue in it, get some clamps on it, and wait. To position the fingerboard, this line lines up with the nut slot. And I've made an additional line on the back of the neck right here that I'll know if the fingerboard is here, it's in the correct location. I'll redraw the center line on the front of the neck, and I'll have to center it with the center line of the fingerboard back here, which pretty much is center with the truss rod. Take that same centerboard line and line it up there with the center line of the neck, and that's how I'm going to line this up. This is my favorite wood glue for basically anything. There's arguments for using other types of glue. They say epoxy doesn't add any water to the wood, and you're trying to dry the wood out, gives you a more resonant instrument. Wood glue is what I'm going to use. Here's what I was looking for. Got a really nice, even, consistent glue squeeze out along both edges.